presenters at the UP2U meetings. And over to you, JP and Magriet. Thank you for your presentations.
Goedemorgen, Dolf. Good morning, everyone. Thanks so much for having us. Not going to waste any time. Just to say, my name is Magriet de Villiers. I'm an advisor at the Center for Learning Technologies. And then JP Bosman is also present. He is the director at our Center for Learning Technologies here at Stellenbosch University. And in the next 10 minutes, I'd like to give you a very fleeting look at what we've been doing in the last 7, 8, 9 months. With regards to extended learning spaces, where we've tried to see how can we teach when students are elsewhere. I hope you find the little pun there. So yeah, how did we implement this? What happened? And you'll see that my slides are quite dense because I would like to share this with you afterwards. So if there's anything that I miss here, you can ask questions, but we can also share this so that this is kind of a document also for you to get as much information as you would like. So the background to the extended learning spaces, or else, was based on the fact that we moved to what we at Stellenbosch University call the augmented remote teaching, learning and assessment approach. So in November 2020, a certain amount of our students came back to campus from, or we were told students to come back from the 2021 academic year. And we had reduced classroom capacity. There were COVID restrictions. We were not quite sure also what was lying ahead, as many of us had said, but we learned quite a lot. And we thought that this was a great way to help our students access some of the technology, the Wi-Fi, and other great tools on campus. So it was conceived as an emergency response, the extended learning spaces. And the aim was that we would like to equip all schedulable lecture venues with certain audiovisual equipment that would allow them to walk into a classroom, be able to stream their lecture with one click, whilst interacting with students who are not physically in the venue, and being able to then seamlessly interact with those who are in the venue. So the hope and the aim and the idea that we are still working towards is that it's walk in, switch on, and you present, and your students in class and online can experience you as a lecturer without you having to stretch yourself technologically and emotionally too far. So although this was conceived as an emergency response, the extended learning spaces, there was an SU Learning Spaces work group that has looked at what this tech would look like for the last 6 years, and looking at what would we like to add to our venues in future. And so the current concept and the standard of the design was approved at the end of 2019, which was quite timeless, so that by the time we came into COVID in 2020, we already had a certain plan in action. So what we in effect did was to accelerate the implementation of this standard and the concept design, and accelerate our implementation of our teaching and learning policy by using what we've learned in 2020, and by learning from all of you, as well as we had all of those wonderful webinars and seminars, and bringing that into the classroom. So just to give you an indication of what we have, it's a pre-built 19-inch rack. It's got a UPS, because as we know, and in a few minutes my power is probably going to go off, but that there's a UPS in each of these venues, so that if there is a power outage in one of these schedulable venues, and there's currently now 87 of them fully locked and loaded and being used. And then we also have a monitor tree, or as some call it, the rhino, or the buffalo, as you'll see in the next pictures, which includes a 24-inch monitor that has an annotation, very basic annotation capabilities, a video and audio control panel. You see that at the bottom, the one that says start. So that's literally where you start when you walk into the class. You have a Microsoft Teams room device. So you can see all of your participants as well. You can see when they raise their hands, and then on the left-hand side, you also have a little monitor showing your remote participants, and a nice little space for you to add an extra device if needed. It fits perfectly with either a cell phone or a tablet. So this is what we installed And once again, the idea was literally that we wanted an interactive learning experience that was comparable to the in-class experience. And it also had to be as user-friendly as physically possible for the lecturers and for the students, and be one touch if possible. So what you're seeing here is our proof of concept venue. And I think we can all relate to the fact that we have older buildings, and so you can see in the background, no updated classroom, but at the front here, what you see is the rack below, and then the buffalo, the rhino, with all its different elements that you've just seen on the previous slide. So this is what it would look like in an older classroom. It was literally pre-built, brought in, assembled in the classroom, and ready to go and run after a user acceptance test. This one is in a more, a renovated classroom. As you can see, it's quite a chunky thing, quite intimidating, to be very honest. I spent 4 months with this baby every day, and it still intimidates me when I walk into a venue that I've never been to, but it is very intuitive, as everything has been standardized all over campus and in these 87 venues. You will also see that there are microphones, different types of microphones for however lecturers need it. Some of these newer venues that have been updated also have lecterns that can be heightened or lowered depending on, well, if you're like me and you're relatively short, that really does help. So this is what it looks like in these 87 venues to provide this interactive learning experience for both the lecturer and for the students on both sides of the camera. So this is what it would look like then. Teaching when your students are elsewhere, you'll see in this picture, that's what the buffalo looks like from the student perspective. Luckily, this lecturer is not tall. Some venues have 2 projectors, some venues have 4 projectors. There's a document camera, which this lecturer is using at present, and the students who are in class can see, can hear perfectly, and your students online can also see. So as you can see, the student is sitting in a coffee shop. I just cut off the cup of coffee on the left-hand side. And it's literally a lecture in process taking place from within one of these ELS classrooms. And the lecturer is using the annotation monitor to highlight certain aspects on the presentation that he is sharing at the moment. The students can ask questions and they can make comments either by unmuting their mic if that team setting has been enabled, or by writing a chat, which the lecturer can then also see via their device, or ask one of the classroom representatives or teaching assistants to monitor that for them, almost as a presenter would do, and as Dolf is doing in this case for me. So you can see that it works on the Teams, Microsoft Teams basis, and it provides, so we've tried to use what we've learned through COVID as well in terms of using Teams at our university. And then expanding on that and just saying, okay, well, now your approach has to change a little bit. Your mindset has to change a little bit, and it's daunting because you've got students in the classroom, but you've also got students online. But if you are MS Teams proficient and you can get over that initial shock of this huge buffalo at the front of the class, it is relatively intuitive. And this lecturer who's teaching here with the annotation screen sent us a quite interesting feedback saying, you know, this is, once he got into it, it was seamless. He enjoys teaching. He loves the fact that he knows it works, that his students can hear him, that students in class and outside of class can actually actively participate. And he finds it a great experience. Of course, we have other lecturers who do not find it as enjoyable at present, but we're hoping to get there because it takes a team to make sure that something like this works optimally. We have 3 divisions involved: our division, which is the Center or the Division for Learning and Teaching Enhancement, then Facilities Management, as well as IT. And we have a team of user support and training personnel, which includes lecturers, which includes our learning designers and BLCs, which includes then other personnel such as myself, who from the past, or the support staff. And just to give you an idea of what goes into planning something with regards to the support and training of this, because as they were built in our venues over the last 7 months, we had to test the system, write the guidelines, start the training for those lecturers who were on campus and could attend, and also receive feedback, because feedback is crucial. Feedback is crucial from the 3 divisions involved. It's crucial from the lecturers who you are training, because we used a train the trainer model. So although 79 might not seem like a lot, it's been in the last month and we're still continuously training every day. We have a service desk where people can enroll for their training. And that feedback that we get from those trainers is crucial. What are their lecturers struggling with? What are they struggling with? And a lot of it has to do with the technology. As you can imagine, that what we've tried to put together here is quite new in its configuration. So there is definitely some technological issues that we are still working out. But then there's also a lot of emotional feedback that we get from lecturers, either of being extremely overwhelmed by the system or being so super excited that they want to try everything and pulling in the reins, say, well, you don't have to do everything all at once. And then part of this team is also to know that when your audiovisual teams come in, it takes a lot of man hours to plan something like this, to install, and we had to program it 4 months. We would go in as a team, test it as a user, see what worked, change buttons, make recommendations to the IT personnel and the installers and the programmers, so that we knew by the end that we would get to a result that at least we could say we could use it properly. And we can, with a great degree of comfortability, say that this is optimal for our environment and optimal for our lecturers who would like to use it, and an optimal experience for the students, both in the class and at the other end of the camera. So this is a very quick introduction to what we've been doing in the last 7-9 months. As you can imagine, it's been one hell of a ride. But we're very,